Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Patrick Belin and Shaunette.
Hello.
Hi.
What you guys up to today?
Living through it.
Same here.
Watching movies.
Oh yeah, we need good movies in these times.
In these conflicting times. Let's put that word on
Let's
it.
put that. Yeah, we couldn't possibly mean anything specific by that.
Oh no, no recent events that have cost me nights of a decent sleep. Constantly giving me an ulcer.
Well said. Well said.
Nothing going on.
Nothing big. So we're here today to talk about Arrival, the new sci-fi film directed by Denis Villeneuve. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's how they pronounce it on NPR. So
Is
we'll
he
go with
French?
That. French Canadian.
French-Canadian.
Yeah. And we're gonna review it. So let's just start off with the big question. What'd you guys think of the movie?
I thought it was an okay story that was told very well. Like the meat of the story ends up being, it feels very much like a Twilight Zone episode, and that's not a bad thing at all, but it's like, it's kind of very pulpy, sci-fi ideas built up on a plot twist and kind of there for a morality play. And that's fine. You can tell good stories about that. A lot of great sci-fi stories have been told that way. But what really sets, for me, makes it work is the cinematography, and that working in unison with the score. The score is outstanding. I think it's Johan Johansson.
Yes,
who did the score.
Beautiful score.
I'm not making that name up. He did the score here. It's gorgeous. It helps make the movie. Yeah, I thought it was a solid feature. I don't think it's going to be like one of the best of the year. It's at least not on my year-end list. It's not going to be one of the best, but it's very well put together, and I'm glad it's out there.
Patrick?
I enjoyed it very much. I gave it a 4 out of 4 stars. The person who did the composer, he did the DiCaprio movie last year.
That was
Or was it someone else? Because that's
he did Ryuichi Sakamoto, and Alvin noted with the Revenant. But I could see a through line there, yeah.
But anyways, the style went through there, so that really worked for me. I mean, all the technical things, directing, editing, cinematography, sound, all that stuff was on point for me, and I really enjoyed it. As far as first contact movies, if you want to put that as a genre, I thought it was one of the best ones that I've seen. The story wasn't super remarkable, but the way it was told, it was very well done, and they did some really good commentary about global politics and just how people are, and I really appreciated that. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. And in fact, I really felt moved by it. Ultimately, it was a movie that I felt was heartbreaking and in a beautiful sort of way. There's a big tragedy in this movie. We'll get to that later when we get into the spoilers. But I was kind of amazed at how this movie looks into really tragic things, both in terms of the personal life of the main character, Amy Adams' character, and also around the world in terms of this is a story about nations not trusting each other, diplomatic ties breaking down, like as they in light of this perceived threat, and looking into that awfulness and finding hope, and I think that combined with you mentioned the cinematography, which is out of this world. Bradford Young did the cinematography. Denis Villeneuve, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, usually works with Roger Deakins, who is obviously a legend. But I have to say, I think Bradford Young did better on this than Roger Deakins could have, because I think Deakins is wonderful but a little bit show-offy, and Bradford Young is there's just something very subtle about the beauty and the light on the grass under the spaceship and the clouds and the moodiness of the inside of the spaceship, and it was just it was, you know, in terms of like the images and the story,
it's like weirdly foreboding but also serene.
It is. That's so true. Yeah, and it creates. It's almost kind of like a poem, you know. This ritual of going into the spaceship, coming out, you know, trying to crack what the aliens are saying, and then going back in. It's very haunting. And
it reminded me a little of 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like it's putting you in a trance, like the way everything is set up, but in a good way, you know.
Yes.
Like the one I keep coming back to is when she's on the helicopter and they first arrive at the base, and we just get this long camera take of her from her point of view, seeing the spaceship and then seeing the base, and just as the helicopter pulls around, and it's like 30 seconds long.
Right.
But it looks it works.
Mm-hmm. It was really kind of amazing. Like there was no like shot of like, you know, oh, the helicopter, you know, comes around the clouds and the spaceship slowly moves into view. It was like they move closer, and it's there.
Right.
And it was very startling and horrifying and beautiful and weird, and I loved it.
All those things.
The pacing was really good.
Yeah, great pacing.
I mean, they were able to build an atmosphere and not linger on the waste of time kind of tropes.
Yes,
you know, like people like running scared, like they didn't waste their time so much on that. I mean, they showed little things of that, like on TVs, like in the background and things like that. But it wasn't like this is, you know, they didn't try to give it everything to you in this sort of obvious way. There was a lot of subtlety in the directing and the cinematography. That's what I really appreciated.
Yeah, I think the subtlety is a great point. Like, because this to me was was sort of in contrast to like you know, Christopher Nolan's sci-fi films, like where you know, and you know, where you're getting, you know, really really fanciful things like, you know, wormholes and, you know, the world turning in on itself, and I love that. I mean, Nolan's my favorite director working right now, but I appreciated that this was a different tactic in terms of, you know, sci-fi. This was very earthy, you know, like right down to that moment when the cars crash into each other at the beginning, and it's just, it feels like you're out there on the street, and it's like kind of like you know, it just creates this mood of uncertainty.
It was very human scale. It didn't pan out too much. It stayed within the perspective of the main character.
Yes, yeah. Which is, you know, another thing that's, you know, that's really remarkable about this movie. This whole movie basically takes place in this one military encampment. You know, there's not a lot of roaming around. You know, it's
and you just assume that there are similar stories at the 12 other sites.
Yes.
It didn't need to go there so much.
Yeah.
You know? It didn't have to do that.
Which is why I thought, you know, one of the best moments in the film is the moment when all the sites are breaking off communication. And that was just so like deliciously terrifying. The unknown. It's like, what did they find out? What did they find out? You know, oh no, they're gone. You know,
it introduced some tension into the plot.
Yeah. And, you know, Villeneuve, I mean, did you guys see Two Prisoners in Sicario?
This is the first of his movies I've seen.
Same.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I've heard good things about them, so I might check them out.
So I've had kind of an odd relationship with him where it's like, until now I have not liked a single movie of his that I've seen, although I haven't seen all of them, because he kind of struck me as, you know, a bit of a sadist masquerading as a highbrow entertainer. Like, you know, like Prisoners, you know, like is, you know, kind of seems gritty and realistic, but then he was like throwing in, you know, like torture porn type stuff, and there's a scene where, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal opens a suitcase and, oh my god, it's filled with snakes! You know, it was so lurid and ridiculous and like kind of, you know, look how dark I can be, look how creepy I can be, and Arrival to me was, you know, it was, I felt like it was tough, I felt like it confronted, you know, really challenging, intense things, and yet there was, you know, there was hope, you know, there was inspiration.
So was that different from his previous work?
You know, I mean, I just learned this morning he's made a lot more movies than I realized, and so maybe maybe the movies he made before he came to Hollywood were different, but I mean, I saw Enemy, I saw Prisoners, I saw Sicario, and to me, those films are all like really pessimistic and, you know, like a lot shallower than maybe people thought they were, and this to me was something more, you know. I mean, it felt like a step forward, because I think we've probably alluded to this in the past. Like, I think it's a mistake for filmmakers to assume that making something grim and gritty automatically makes it profound.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah,
Villeneuve has made that mistake in the past, and I don't think he makes it here. At least that's
Okay.
how I feel about it.
Would you say this is like a breakthrough film in his career?
I think so, yeah, in terms of the films he's made.
Because he's now on my radar.
Yeah, I think this is
I'd
a
like to go
breakthrough.
back and watch some of his movies.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, now I want to see, like, you know, like some
the
movies he
through
made in
line.
Canada. Yeah, the through line. Like, how did he grow to where he is now? You know?
Yeah.
Are you guys, do you guys want to, should we get into the plot twist yet?
Sure.
Sure, okay. So
That's the $1 million question.
yeah,
What
I
did you
know,
think of the
yeah.
plot twist?
Yeah, I don't know how much further we can go without touching on it. So, to our listeners, we are about to get into spoilers. Spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
We could put Ben Bird out of a job, I think. So, I mean, my question for you guys is, I mean, the way I see it is this movie, you start out thinking it's about one thing, and it's really about something else ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think the big plot twist, and you can say what it is, but of course, since this is a spoiler section, how do you think it changes the meaning of the movie? And also, do you think it makes the movie better? Do you think it enhances it?
I think it's excuse me. I think it's. I'm not sure how much it changes the movie, because it's different. It comes off as different perspectives on the same idea. So for me, at least the way I saw it, the first part, the story becomes about just moving on or living with tragedy, and the second part is that's how it begins, is living with tragedy, living with inconsolable loss. And once we get past that, once we get to the end of the movie, it becomes about just living, just acknowledging that these bad things are going to be a part of life, but it doesn't mean it's not worth being part of life. It's not worth living.
I love that. I think I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely it. Yeah.
Well,
Patrick?
I literally, so just before I hit it over here, so I didn't spend too much time digesting it yet, but generally, it kind of makes me want to see it again, because for throughout almost the entire second part, the first act, for 2/3 of the movie, I was putting things together in a certain way, and then all of a sudden I had to chuck that out and think of the entire thing differently, and thinking of how they played the little vignettes of the flashbacks and things like that. I think they were doing something very specific there, and I feel like the message, they're trying to communicate something more than what we thought they were trying to communicate. So I feel like I have to see it again and see it knowing what I know now. But generally, I think it works. I don't think it's cheesy. Of course, we're dealing with this first contact extraterrestrial, almost supernatural thing, so it's natural to introduce this kind of element in it too. It's not out of.
It doesn't come completely out of nowhere. Like the way they describe the language, it makes a certain amount of sense.
It does make sense, yeah. Within the terms that the movie sets.
Like it's not just like we're doing an alien invasion story and suddenly there's fourth dimensional awareness. It's not a complete curveball.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate about that.
Well, I mean, and I totally agree with what you guys are saying, and I'll just take our listeners through what happens. So, I mean, the film begins with some flashbacks to Amy Adams' character raising her daughter, and then to her daughter dying, and then there are flashbacks to her life with her daughter throughout the film, and but it turns out that this alien language she's translating, the language is changing her perception and allowing her to move through time. And in fact, we are not seeing flashbacks; we are seeing flashes of the future. And what we realize at the end of the movie, her daughter didn't die at the beginning of the film. That happens in the future after the film ends, and then the film is in a way building towards the birth of her daughter. And so for me, that really, I think, as you alluded to, Patrick, that really changed the meaning of the movie, because when we were watching those scenes at the beginning with her daughter dying, I thought, oh, this is like Gravity all over again, where the character has,
has
a dead
this
child.
baggage that suddenly becomes like their driving character force.
Yes, and then this sci-fi adventure is going to be kind of about how they transcend that baggage. And honestly, like, when I thought that was the case, I was kind of like annoyed. I thought, you're killing this kid off, like that's a cheap trick to manipulate us. And then when I realized what was really going on, I was floored, and I really appreciated the mother-daughter story much better, because I feel like it is so much. You think all this pain is in the past when the movie begins, and then you realize this pain is all in the future. She has the awful experience of losing her child, yet in front of her when the film ends, and I found that so kind of awful and heartbreaking, and yet that's what I think is the beauty of the movie, that and you brought this up before, Mo. There is heartbreak to come, and yet the movie's message is
that
you got to live life.
She sees this coming, but she chooses to go through with it anyway.
Yes, yeah, and that's for me what took the film to the next level and really drew me into it, I think.
The sci-fi aspect of this, the themes that they're playing with, what I really appreciate is this idea of time. That time is not linear. That the past, present, and the future, it's that it all collapses into one. Yeah. And that's what they communicated in this film with the main character, and I thought that was really interesting. I mean, this is a sort of sci-fi subject matter that you would see in like in a Nolan film or something. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I kept thinking about Interstellar. I was flashing back to the Tesseract.
I was thinking more Slaughterhouse-5.
Interesting. Say more.
So for those who don't know, Slaughterhouse-5 is like a classic of science fiction. It's got, like, the first lines are, "Listen, Billy Pilgrim has become unstuck in time." And the story is, it's about Billy Pilgrim, who was a soldier in World War II. He comes home, and then after he comes home, he gets abducted by aliens, and then comes back to Earth. And the aliens, they kind of experimented on him, and when he came back to Earth, he saw the world as they did, which meant he could see his life fourth dimensionally. He saw every point in his life at once. And so the story of Slaughterhouse-5 just bounces back to his time serving in World War II, his time with the aliens, his time afterwards, and eventually his death, which, like, he knows coming. Like, he knows that's going to happen to him, and he's just at peace with it. And a big part of the novel was Kurt Vonnegut, the writer, going through his own trauma of having served in World War II. But it was playing with that idea. It was playing with exploring this idea of seeing your life fourth dimensionally, and how do you react to that? How do you react to a future that's is coming? Do you try to change it, or do you live with it? And and that's the same idea that's at play here in Arrival.
Yes,
it's just jumping around in time. The non-linear storytelling.
And this is something that's often said about science fiction or kind of affiliated genres like the superhero genres, that the odd thing is that like oftentimes when you go into the unknown, or you go into the kind of extra normal, like or quasi paranormal, out there world like that, it ends up coming back to these very small human things. and that question, like, which is such a great question, how do you live with, something bad, is coming? I mean, none of us know our future, but I mean, that is, I think, part of what life is about, like, how do you go on, knowing, that there are bad things out there. I mean, it's a timeless thing.
Here's a little bit of a plot hole. So the ETs they separated into 12.
Right.
And they divided the puzzle into 12, and they relied on the humans to put it together. They kind of hinted that the reason why they did that is because they wanted humanity to come together.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Is that really is that really convincing as the way it was written? I'm not sure.
Dude, here's why I bought it. I bought it because of that scene at the end where the aliens tell her that they're eventually going to need humanity's help.
Yes.
And I thought that, like, kind of like bringing humanity together was like, we're gonna do you a favor because we're gonna need a favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I see.
That's how I interpreted it.
I bought it.
Yeah.
Also, the way they built up from the beginning about this whole thing about humans not having a single leader.
Yes.
And that we're too divided. So okay.
Yeah.
I can see it that way.
It could just as easily been that they were hedging their bets and they didn't know, like, which human civilization was gonna figure out what they needed to. So
that's true. Yeah.
Cast a wide net.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you brought you brought up this leads towards something I wanted to ask all of you, and I think you may have particular interest in this, Patrick. You've brought up a lot about the Hollywood movies looking towards the Chinese market and kind of pandering all the Transformers. We've gotten this movie a general from China who turns out to be a pretty heroic character. So I was wondering, did your pandering alert go off, or did you buy it?
I think I'm seeing that a lot in movies these days. What is that? The Martian.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, The Martian.
And now this, if we wanted, but here it was done a lot more subtly. It wasn't like, oh, this is what we're doing. I have this sledgehammer, and I'm gonna beat you over the head with it.
Right.
It was a bit more subtle here.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have put like the UK general in there, right, or something.
Sure.
But, we gotta sell this movie to China, so let's use the Chinese general instead.
Yeah, I did think, it's like I kind of had a similar experience. I was like, maybe that's why that's in there. But then at the same time, it's like
it worked.
It did work. Yeah, and I mean that was such a great moment. Like her, like talking in Mandarin at the end and saying his dying wife's words like that.
Plus, like,
it paid off well.
Like it works thematically because, like, it's about like healing this divide.
Mm-hmm.
There's
In
21st century there is
That's the point.
There is some tension between, like, Western and Eastern powers, and including China.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it felt like it didn't.
It wasn't cheesy like The Martian.
Yeah. The Martian was pretty eyebrow raising. I mean, and this like it kind of. I mean, I think it worked for me for the same reason you described, Mo. And that I felt like it was advancing an idea that was necessary. That that it's that we're stronger together.
Of course, a certain political affect in our society would look at that and be like, "Oh, this is just a bunch of liberal bullshit."
Well, I mean, I did want to allude to some of that because I God knows, I'm sure no one out there wants to hear more about the election, but I mean, it is fateful that this movie arrived election week, and it seems to play into these connections. Yeah.
There's the moments, like, at the beginning of the movie where she's talking to her mom, and she's just says, "Mom, what have I told you about listening to those people on that news channel? They don't know what idiots."
We all know what channel that is.
But that's the thing. The joke is so vague, it works for any audience.
Yeah.
Everyone has it's like, oh, that because someone are going to be thinking it's this channel, someone are going to be thinking it's the other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It works, but it is interesting that it comes out at this point. Not just because I feel like a lot of people, like I work at a theater that was showing it. Saturday nights we had it on 2 screens, which is rare for us, and it's like every showing was sold out.
Wow.
Or at least almost sold out. Like we got to the point where there was like 5 seats in the front row that were empty, and everywhere else was taken.
Wow.
For this film?
For this film.
Wow.
That's impressive.
And and I think it's not just escapism, but it's also like this idea of globalism.
Yes.
Just the idea of like it's not of a movie saying it's not about America first. It's not about any country being first or winning. It's about coming together to make each other stronger, to lift each other up,
right,
and to help not only ourselves but now the heptapods.
Yes.
These aliens.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of it's a challenge, I think, to tell stories like that because sci-fi delves into those kind of messages a lot about dealing with the unknown and dealing with the unknown in a way that's that's ethical, and it's too easy to make a movie like Avatar, which I think is super entertaining. But then at the same time, Avatar is a little bit, is so on the nose that I don't know, like...
It's not exactly a subtle movie.
Yeah, I don't know, like, how seriously, like, people took the politics in that movie. And whereas this was a very, like, nuanced and, dare I say it, progressive vision of what the world could be. And
it was very human.
Yes,
for a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
It also strikes me, like, just going back to, like, the 2 moments you talked about, the pacing, and like how it's a little subtle. How it's subtle. I felt like it was less so in when it like showed like the bad soldiers. So we get 2 scenes of that. The first is like the guy talking to his wife,
right,
and she's like kind of freaking out, and he's trying to calm her down. I'm like, okay, this guy's either gonna die or turn evil, and I was right. And
you were very right. Yeah.
And the other is different. Was it a different soldier, or was it the same guy?
What point?
Where he's like listening to like talk radio with a guy who has a very like the talk radio guy very much looks like Rush Limbaugh's setup.
Oh yeah.
I think he's got an AR-15 hanging on the wall behind him. Or no, it was on the website. It, just a picture of that on the website. And he's saying like we got to get rid of the aliens before they get rid of us. And the guy agreed. Was that the same guy?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, but that moment really did stand out to me.
That struck me as less than subtle.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't subtle. It did. I think plug into some relevant stuff. But yeah, it definitely wasn't subtle. Yeah.
But it's definitely a movie with a more liberal bend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And indeed, I mean, there's an argument to be made that sci-fi tends to...
or at least like the sci-fi that sticks in our head. I mean, Star Trek has been around for 50 years, and that was just the Gene Roddenberry's liberal soapbox.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, I was thinking watching this, like are there sci-fi movies that do have a more conservative bent? And then I thought, like, I don't know, like maybe Terminator, because there's like kind of a vigilante, anti-government, vibe in Terminator. But then again, like I don't know. I mean, it's tricky to make that case because James Cameron himself is so like passionate about climate change and liberal causes. So I mean, it's on the edge. Yeah.
Well, it's been a while since I've seen the Terminator movies, but it's basically the Terminator movies are like capitalizing on Cold War fears.
Sure.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
After the fact. Which seems a little like past past the point, but that's all right.
Yeah.
But it never becomes about like we gotta stop the Russians before they can nuke us. It's we've got to stop the nukes from launching at Russia in the first place.
That's true.
The enemy is Skynet. It's technology that we can't control.
Yeah. That's a fairly progressive.
Yeah.
Skynet is basically Google, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Skynet
We're living under Skynet.
Skynet is whatever the big technological fear is of the time. Like,
that's true. That's true.
I didn't see Terminator Gen ISIS,
Gen ISIS.
but from what I've heard, like their version of Skynet was like based up.
It was an app, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It was an app called Gen ISIS.
It was a Steve Jobs takeoff or something. Did anyone see that movie?
You know, I actually got it from the Multnomah County Library, and I never watched it. I couldn't bear it.
I don't think so.
I don't know. You know, I mean, I love Amelia Clark. I love her to pieces, but I just do not believe she could possibly succeed Linda Hamilton. No way.
I think she could try her best. And I think I want to watch the next season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I would rather just watch that too. Yeah.
I heard they're doing another Terminator.
Oh God.
Please no.
Why?
I don't know.
What's the next step?
Remember when they're gonna make that CGI animated movie Terminator 3000? That just kind of made me chuckle. It was gonna happen, and then I guess they forgot about it.
I think it says something that there was a Terminator 4. And the one thing people remember it most was Christian Bale yelling at a lighting technician.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's, you know, kind of like you see franchises like Terminator, and you see how tired they are. You know, makes me that much more grateful for movies like Arrival. You know, that offer the sci-fi speculative goods, and yet actually feel.
And it tells a complete story.
Yeah.
It's like here's a beginning, middle, and end, and there's a next step to it, and they could take that step, but right now it's a complete story as it is.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like A.O. Scott alluded to this really well in the New York Times, where he said, you know, like this isn't like, you know, a building block in like, you know, a larger plan. You know, like this is a movie. This is a complete experience. And you know, I mean, I say that as someone, you know, who loves a number of franchises and believes franchises can be great, but I, you know, appreciate that, you know, there's some stuff left on the floor in this. There's some mystery, and you know, it leaves you content and wanting more at the same time, I think.
I like films that make me want to employ my own imagination.
Yes.
As opposed to just visualizing everything for me.
Totally.
But is this the only sci-fi movie that's slated for this holiday season?
We got Passengers, yeah. The Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt.
Because you've seen Pretty White People everywhere else. You haven't seen them in space yet.
Yeah, why don't they just change the title? You know, Pretty White People in space. Yeah, in space. Oh man, yeah.
And also Rogue One, but Rogue One's again a building block.
Yeah, a building block. Yeah, sci-fi fantasy. That's true. Yeah. I've got one final question, but do you guys have anything else you guys want to bring up first?
Yeah, I'm trying to recall aspects of the film or scenes in particular that jumped out at me. I would just have to say that Amy Adams did a really good job in this.
Yeah.
She played it with a lot of believability.
Yeah.
It's a tough line to walk because the first half of the movie you're still like convinced she's still grieving for her daughter.
Yes.
And so she's got to play it as really muted, but you still have to be engaged in the story.
Totally.
And I think she pulls it off, and I think she does a great job. Where's her Oscar?
I know that is a question.
5 nominations.
Oh.
5.
You know, she is. I mean,
they don't like redheads.
That's true.
They don't like redheads, man.
You know, she like for a while, like I think post Junebug, she was very like typecast as perky characters, and then now, you know, I think starting with The Fighter, she started playing more somber characters, and this character is so drained and so like even kind of emotionless and yet sorrowful at times, and I gotta say, I think it's one of my favorite performances of the year. I liked the.
Yeah.
I liked how glum she was. I thought it was really poignant to see her so kind of washed out and
And then the
ground up.
change when she starts working with the aliens and she just lights up by having this new project to work on.
Yeah. She's so she's so confident.
She's the best.
She is the best. She is the best. Yeah. So I guess my last question for you guys is speaking of moments in the film, is there maybe one more moment you want to bring up that you think is particularly noteworthy in here?
I think again, I was working at a movie theater that was showing it, and I was working an usher shift. And when you're an usher, every 40 minutes we do theater checks where just take the flashlights, just go in, make sure the screen's right, make sure like all the sound and the projector is working. Take a look at the audience, make sure no one's brought in any outside alcohol or anyone's being rowdy or anything like that, and then move on to the next theater and do that for all of the screens. So I saw a bunch of the moments again and again, and the one that stuck out to me is the scene where she's talking to Jeremy Renner, and he asks her, "Are you dreaming in their language?" And you start hearing the canary chirp, and she's just like, "Do you think that disqualifies me from this project?" And she looks over and she sees one of the heptapods.
Oh, it's so terrifying! Yeah,
so great.
It was an incredible moment.
It comes out of nowhere, and it's just it throws you right on your ass, but it works really well.
It builds on the plot twist, I think.
Yeah.
This is a Denis Villeneuve signature, because his movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he ended that movie with a similar way where Jake Gyllenhaal turns around and standing in front of him is a giant spider that's bigger than a human, and so I thought I saw that and I was like that's again with the big creature thing, but the way they did it in Arrival was so much cooler, because it wasn't just like it was like it was just so great. It showed the edge. She has compassion for these creatures. She wants to help them, and yet they are frightening, and the idea that and it was really creepy to see it outside the ship.
Yeah,
just lurking there.
It's not in like this weird like surreal dreamlike kind of just white space.
Right, it's just there. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a cool scene.
So cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the screenplay of this too. I thought the screenplay was done very well.
Yeah, great screenplay. Yeah.
Aside from some of those not so subtle points that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's good. It fit the mood of the movie. It kept it kept it down on a human scale, and relatable.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Well, the dialogue was all realistic.
It was. Yeah.
Or stylized to seem realistic, as realistic as Hollywood dialogue can get.
Sure. I'm gonna cheat and do two moments. One I really loved among many was when the heptapod says "offer weapon," and that moment, it's just like
everything. That's the changing points. Like everything is suddenly there's this threat.
Yeah, 2 words and the movie plunges into scary new territory, and that's that's what makes this I think in addition to a great humanist film, a great suspense thriller as well. It's masterful in that respect as well. And then I just have to give a shout out to her her final conversation with the aliens, and her surrounded by all this white space, and where she for the first time we see subtitles showing exactly what they're saying, and that moment of revelation, her kind of intimacy with the unknown, and kind of beginning to for the first time really understand in that moment. That was really beautiful. And I'm gonna cheat and do a third moment, since I love this movie. But the great scene at the end when she calls the General Shang, and the U.S. soldiers are rushing towards her, and Jeremy Renner raises his hands to like shield her. I mean, that was such that was such an intimate climax. Just it's a bunch of people running around in a tent. And yet it was so cool.
The fate of the world hangs on this phone call.
Yes, yeah, this small little thing, and that's I mean, in a world where communication is everything.
And it's an ontological paradox, but you're okay with it.
Yes, yeah. All right, shall we wrap it up? Any final thoughts?
Solid movie. I'm glad it exists. I don't think it changed my life. I don't think it's like one of the best of the year, but it's very well put together, and I'm glad I saw it.
Patrick?
Good movie. It was right up my alley. Very well done, and a great way to kick off the holiday movie season.
I agree. Absolutely, yeah. And I don't want to speak too soon because there's a ton of movies coming out that sound so great. La La Land and Silence among them, but this might actually be my favorite movie of the year. But we'll see. I will all you lovely T.H.O. fans out there, I will get back to you on that. So once again, this is the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast. If you liked what you heard, please click thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at THO Movie Reviews. And check out all the new reviews we're posting at thomoviereviews.wordpress.com. And once again, I'm Bennett Campbell Ferguson, and I'm here with
Patrick
Morgan.
And we will see you next time. Happy movie watching.
Happy movie watching.
Yay.